your origin, whatever your age or gender identity, whatever your abilities, whomever you love. You are welcome at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Statesboro. You are welcome in this, our religious home. We extend a warm welcome to any visitors and guests. Do we have anyone who would like to introduce yourself as a visitor or guest, or is there anyone who would like to introduce anyone else?
We do have a visitor today. I don't know.
Hi, Jane.
Welcome.
And anyone who is visiting, we hope that you will give some contact information in our guest registry near the front entrance or on our website at www.uustatesboro.org so that we can continue some more information. Thank you, members and guests, for sharing your resources during our offertory later in the service, or again via our website. In the month of May, and this is a change, half of our offering that is not designated as pledge will be donated to Fostering the Lord. That's a change from it was going to be Boys and Girls Club, and there's some issues there. Folks with two different organizations who work with them have told me that although there's a summer program, the Boys and Girls Club may not be back in the fall. Sorry to hear that. And when I called there, someone who appeared to agree with that tried to put me through to the acting CEO and haven't heard back. So we'll go with Foster. All right. Now I invite you to join me in reciting our congregational affirmation. Love
is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Our worship leader this morning is Teresa Wynn.
Good morning, and it's especially poignant to me this morning that we are helping one another. Thank you so much for all of your help this morning. I invite you to center yourself this morning as we prepare for worship. And I'm going to sing to myself too. This reading is by Gretchen Haley, Surrender to This Life. As we gather this morning, I invite you to surrender to this life. Give up the fight for some other moment, some other life than here and now. Give up the longing for some other world, the wishing for other choices to make, other songs to sing, other bodies, other ages, other countries, other states. Surrender only to this life, this day, this hour, not because it does not constantly break your heart, but because it also beckons with beauty, startles with delight. If only we keep waking up. This is the gift we've been given. These body clothes, this heartbreak, this pulse, this breath, this light, these friends, this hope. Here we re-remember ourselves, all a part of it all. Giving thanks together. Come, let us worship. We begin that worship by lighting our chalice, the symbol of our religious heritage. Feel free to join me in our chalice reading. This is our chalice of love and light, uniting us all by day and night. And now I will ask you to rise as we will sing Rise Up, O Flame 2 times through. Let me give you the start of that. Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy. Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy. While you're standing, I invite you to greet those standing nearby and have a few moments of just fellowship.
Good.
Good morning.
I'm not confused.
Jamie.
Oh.
He's very friendly.
I thought you I know,
As we find our way back to our seats, we are going to sing together this morning. It's kind of one of the words will be up on the screen, and we will get to join in singing with another voice. Well, I don't know. Let's try one more time. If you think there is something that we can do, I would love that, yes.
Just modern technology.
So, how about this? How about we switch the order just slightly? If we can get this to work, we'll come back to it. But we will invite June Hackle, our speaker this morning, to come on up and share her story for all ages. If you would like to come closer to hear the story, feel free. And June's going to share with us. And not going to go out just yet. We're going to stay in for a few more minutes. You can put us in from back there. It's okay.
I had a choice of two books, and the first one was very pertinent to what we're going to be talking about, and I'm not doing that one. This one spoke to me. I found it a couple of, I think last time I was doing children's story, I found this and I was like, yo, this one's good. We're going to use this. So here it goes. It's called The Sad Little Fact. There once was a fact, a little fact, a sad little fact. No one took the fact seriously. They laughed at it, called it names. You're just a lie. I don't believe you. Then they walk right past it or step over it without so much as a blink. The sad little fact had just one thing to say back. A fact is fact, which shouldn't have been such a big deal, but it was. One day, the authorities demanded that the sad little fact admit that it was not a fact. But the sad little fact could not tell a lie, so it refused. Now the authorities grew angry, and they hurled the sad little fact into a big box and closed the lid, and buried it deep underground. And that was that. Inside, the sad little fact saw that it was surrounded by other facts. They all introduced themselves. 2 + 2 = 4. A refrigerator is not a moose. Christopher Columbus did not discover America. Human beings are members of the ape family. Dinosaurs became extinct 66 million years ago. And so on and so forth. It was a powerful collection of facts. But in time, the facts grew restless. They were tired of being in a box and wanted to get out. I think a hole needs to be made, suggested the sad little fact. But how? The facts had no tools. They were just facts. Meanwhile, a bunch of lies created by the authorities were taking over the world outside the box. They too called themselves facts, but they weren't. The world grew dark. A hardy band of fact finders were troubled by the situation. Where are the real facts, they cried. Where have you buried them? But the only reply they got was, these are the facts. And the fact finders started digging. Equipped with shovels, flashlights, and a need to know the truth, they dug a tunnel deep underground. At last they heard voices, the sound of facts hoping to be discovered, and they found the box. They hoisted it out of the darkness, and they let out the facts. In the clear blue light of the day, the facts were glorious in all their factual splendor. The earth revolves around the sun. People are causing the earth to get warmer. A fact is a fact, cried the sad little fact. It was not so sad anymore. A fact is a fact, they all cried in unison. Some people chose to ignore the facts, turning their backs, walking away in a huff. But for those with minds to think and a need to know the truth, the facts could not be denied. And that's a fact.
If there are any children that want to come up, or any adults who want to come up and help us lead our affirmation this morning, we can do that. So, we are Unitarian Universalists, people of open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. We're going to sing together. There is a little intro on this version, so if you'll stand and make a bridge for the children to walk under, we would appreciate it.
Bend down on this line, please. It's good we had this
We'll
little
try singing together one more time, see if it works, as the kids find their way out this morning. Thank you for being patient with our technical issues.
Oh
As we prepare to hear June this morning, we will have a moment of meditation. And this meditation comes from this book, Spilling the Light. The book was collected by by Teresa Soto, and the reading itself this morning is by Julian Soto. We hold hope close. In this community, we hold hope close. We don't always know what comes next. We don't always know what just to do, but that does not mean that we are lost in the wilderness. We rely on certainty beneath the foundation, our values and our ethics. We are the people who return to love like a North Star, and to the truth that we are greater together than we are alone. Our hope does not live in some glimmer of an indistinct future. Rather, we know the way to the world of which we dream, and by covenant and by movement forward of one action after the next, we know that one day we will arrive at home. I am excited to welcome June Hackle to our podium this morning and hear her share with us her thoughts about how her spiritual journey includes baking. June?
Good morning. So we're talking about food, we're talking about cooking, so let's call this leftovers from 2011. Like all leftovers, try to add a little garnish, a little more spice, try to jazz it up a little bit and bring it current. But so back in 2011, my husband was on the program committee, and he is very fast to answer email. Let's start with that. One day, he looked at me over the lid of his laptop and said, we need speakers this summer. In a burst of exuberance or idiocy, I said, okay, I'll do one. Click the keys, hit send, and I was on schedule. And then I thought to ask, well, what's the summer topic? What spins your zen? And what nourishes your spirit? He elaborated because, okay. And I had to think, what does nourish my spirit? I thought of what I did in times of my life when I was saddest and needed comfort. I remembered making pecan tassies for the nurses at the intensive care unit right after my mom's surgery for colon cancer. I thought I did what I did in times of my life when I was happiest. And I remembered my wedding and baking food for our reception. And I thought of all the times of stress, disappointment, anxiety, and how the smell of a fresh out of the oven pound cake almost always helps put things into perspective. Every time I needed my zen fun or spiritual nourishment, I bake. When everything around me is crazy, I have peace in knowing that flour plus butter plus sugar almost always equals cake. Cooking's always been a part of my life. My mother, who you're going to hear a lot about today, my grandmother, my Mama Bryant, were really important to me, and in most of my childhood memories, they and I are in the kitchen. I'm one of 7 children, and I'm really the only one who spent a lot of time with my mother and grandmother in the kitchen. I got a lot of good cooking advice and a lot of valuable one-on-one time. Now let's draw a distinction here. I like to cook real meals, meat, potatoes, veggies, the stuff that keeps you alive. the stuff that fills our stomachs. That's a necessity. Now, while my husband is a truly awesome cook, sometimes it's not fair to consign him to the kitchen always. So while I like cooking, sometimes that feels like a chore. But baking, bread, little frou-frou goodies, little bite-sized things, they're not healthy, but they really taste good. Life would go on without them, but it would be a very dull and tasteless life. That is what I love to do. So knowing I needed to add some substance, little meat and potatoes, to a rather confectionery talk, I went to the same computer that got me here, and I Googled baking as a spiritual practice. And I found a lot of results. Did you know that Saint Honorius is the patron saint of bakers, confectioners, and pastry chefs? According to legend, he was born in Lorraine to a well-to-do Roman family. He converted to Christianity, and in 426 was named Archbishop of Arles. Okay. He resisted this honor, thinking he was not sufficiently pious, but God caused a divine light to shine on him, and so he became the Archbishop. Now, when it became known in his hometown, he had been proclaimed as such. His old nursemaid, who was baking bread for the family, refused to believe that her old charge had been elevated to such a position. She said she would believe the news only if the peel, that's that big bread powder, found that out, that she was using to bake the bread, put down roots and turned itself into a tree. And when the peel was placed on the ground, it transformed into a blackberry tree, producing flowers and fruit. Read about the blog of a nun who wrote about baking bread for communion. I read about a Jewish man making challah from his grandmother's recipe for Sabbath. I read about Hare Krishnas who recite chants while they prepare the food that's served in certain ceremonies. And I remembered, I tore this out of Southern Living magazine, probably 25 years ago now, and it reminded me of the community I grew up in. Y'all know Southern Living. So, like a wave of giblet gravy, or was it PTA punch, the memories came flooding back. I was sitting on the floor of my parents' living room, watching a cousin serve some chocolate-covered pecans my aunt had made. I glanced up just in time to see a familiar flash of red. There it was, on the bottom of the candy plate, my aunt's initials neatly painted in crimson nail polish. And I could hear my mother saying, "Oh, we gotta carry food." Like most of their contemporaries, my mother and my aunts had carried as much food to so many neighbors that they had to brand their dishes. Otherwise, they'd never find them again. Somebody's sick, send a Dutch oven of homemade soup. Elderly deacon isn't up to fellowship, carry him a plate and double up on that chocolate cake. He's got a sweet tooth, bless his heart. A family lost a loved one, better take some fried chicken, some deviled eggs, and a pot of black-eyed peas, and don't forget the gallon of sweet tea. Maybe a package of those little dinner rolls. You can just warm those up. When I was very small, Mother couldn't bring herself to write directly on her platters and bowls, and instead she would write her name on a strip of masking tape and stick it to the bottom of the dish. But after much lost tape and soapy dishwater and a few misplaced pie plates, she finally resorted to using nail polish. Of course, when the dishes are filled with food, nobody back home needs the bright red initials to know who cooked what. We can spot Mother's fried chicken a mile away, Aunt Rosie's cobbler, Billy Darby's anything. There's always a long line next to Billy's cake at the fellowship table, because she's rumored to make everything from scratch. Few things put me to sleep quicker than a baby shower or bridal tea, but I will break those and attend one at Billy's house, because I know the refreshments will be worth the price of admission. I don't mind standing around in high heels, oohing and eyeing over diaper bags or china patterns, if I know there are homemade cheese straws at the end of that rainbow. For women like Billy, Mother, and my aunts, preparing food for others truly is a labor of love. They don't do it because they like spending their life, all of their time in the kitchen, but because in good times and bad times, we love you, you're a part of us, you can count on us. It's one of the simplest, purest, most unselfish forms of friendship and compassion you'll find. As I've watched these women brand their dishes, grate the coconuts, sprinkle breadcrumbs over their chicken casseroles, and go through miles and miles of tinfoil and plastic wrap, I've reached one conclusion. If your name is on your dishes, it's probably written in the book too. Now after the service, you're all welcome to go back. I'm gonna reference some of the food you're gonna find in the back. And one of the things I remember is, I come from a very small town, and when my mom passed away, I remember spending an entire day returning dishes in this one small town. And yes, the initials were on the bottom of the plates. What exactly is it about baking that is a spiritual practice? I think the process of baking is one of measures. Measured ingredients, measured timing. In baking, everything has to be measured. It's almost a formula with proportions of ingredients. Too much flour makes the cookies tough and chewy. Too little makes them spread out too much. They don't hold their shape. It's necessary attention to detail that teaches and reteaches me patience, and to take joy in the steps of the process, to see the individual ingredients transform themselves into something new. You can't force a cake to rise. You can't make a pie brown. You can try. Results are usually ugly, inedible, and probably surreptitiously fed to the cat. But if you measure ingredients with thought and care, mix well, bake by directions, the results are usually pretty good. Now that's not to say every recipe is Ravensstone. Exchanging almond extract for lemon extract will not extract the wrath of the Epicurean gods. I find creativity in baking. I like tweaking recipes to fit my family's, my friends' taste. Nothing gives me a warm glow like hearing, "This gets better every time you cook it." Once asked my mother why my pound cake never rose like hers did. Her reply was, "You're not beating it enough. You've got to beat it after you add every egg." There's 6 eggs in this pound cake, y'all. That's 6 eggs and 3 cups of flour. You know what else you can do when you're doing all that mixing? Not a lot. Sometimes multitasking is necessary. Baking makes you focus on the task at hand. Pay attention to that one thing until it's in the oven. One reason I love cooking cakes, especially pound cakes, is that most of them cook for over an hour. Now, I can't start any other projects, cleaning, anything else, because I have a cake in the oven. About as much multitasking as I can handle is making a pot of coffee to drink while I wait on the cake to finish up. Once my goodies are out of the oven, cool, decorated, taste tested, usually by Walden, given a thumbs up, the finished products not only feed my stomach, but my spirit. Very few recipes are for a single serving. You could eat an entire recipe of cookies by yourself, but I don't recommend it. Cookies, cakes, tarts, pies, that's meant to be shared. And that sharing nourishes my spirit. I spend a lot of time when I do snacks and stuff I spend a lot of time thinking about what goes together. I look at recipes, consider different combinations, sweet, savory, salty, fruity, bread. I hear my mom in the back of my head going, "You have to have a colorful plate." And Al just shakes his head and leads me to my stack of cookbooks. But it's important to me because it brings me joy to share. That something I have made, I get to share with others. Baking is service. Its product is sharing. Our first principle affirms the inherent worth and dignity of every person. How better to affirm the dignity of a person than by sharing with him something that you have invested with your time and labor. Our sixth principle, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. I have a theory if we had enough metal bowls, wooden spoons, flour, and eggs, we would have an abundance of goodies and world peace. I I talked a lot about my mom. Next month will be 26 years since she passed away. She never met Walden, and he knows her only through pictures, stories, and recipes. He knows my mom once owned many of my favorite cookbooks. Now, in case of a fire, I'm going to make sure all the breathing beings, my husband, my son, my cat, are out of the house. But then I'm going for this. This is one of my mom's cookbooks. A lot of this is in her handwriting. If you ever need a really good pineapple filling recipe, oh yeah. He knows that she would often have sugar cookies, oatmeal cookies, something from the oven when we got home from school. He knows that at that time, by the way, Walden was 8 years old in 2011. When he was a little bit older, when I was a little bit older than he is now, my mom let me make pecan sandies all by myself. And that's the same recipe he has made all by himself too. There's pecan sandies in the back, try one. Some people call them lady fingers, some other things, but Mama's recipe says pecan sandies, so that's what they are. Baking is my way of bridging my past to the future. My mom's recipes and lessons were passed on to me, and now over bowls, rolling pins, eggs, and flour, I'm passing those lessons on to my son. Maybe if he has children, he can pass the lessons of those recipes on to his mother, the recipes of his mother and grandmother on to them. And by the way, he has made some really good pecan. Walden has made some really good pecan sandies and can now absolutely rock a baked macaroni and cheese all by himself. You're gonna, after we're done, I really would want you to go back and sample. Like I said, we've got my mom's pecan sandies. We have cheese straws, which I don't know how that became a family thing. Remember I said I was one of 7 children? Whenever we get together and there's snacks involved, somehow that's what I get assigned. There's brownies because, Sherry, you don't love a brownie, right? And the other thing is a pound cake. Now I do love a good pound cake, and I probably have a dozen different recipes. This one is special. This one belonged to Evelyn Graham. That grew up in we were in the same community. Her kids are about my age. She passed away last month. I tell people that that's probably the reason, her recipe is probably the reason I've been married for 31 years, because that recipe has never failed me. But every time I pull it out and look it up, she's who I think of, because baking is memory. Thank you.
Thank you, June. And it does sound like there will be time for talking more with June over the samples in the kitchen. We invite you definitely to join us after the service for enjoying all of those tasty treats that she shared with us. So this morning we will pass the plates and collect our offering. If you brought your pledge with you, just make sure it's labeled that way, because anything else that we collect in the offering plate this morning will be shared with Foster and Woodland, as you heard earlier. you for sharing your resources with us this morning so that we may share them with Fostering Board. Well, what is next is Joys and Concerns. So I invite you to come forward, share your name, and light a candle, or if you would like, you may drop a stone for your joy or concern this morning. Our center candle has gone out, so while time makes her way up.
I want to tell you something. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My late husband and I were both of German descent. I was a Clausen. And my husband's first job out of a PhD program in Ohio State was at the University of Miami. So a bunch of us went camping over Thanksgiving. And I spent all morning baking this best cake from the Joy of Cooking. And I was so stupid. We had a pop-up camper. And I foolishly put the cake out on the picnic table. And the next day, I was complaining that somebody stole the cake and washed it. And I'm not kidding, this is what happened. And if I'd had any sense, I would have left the cake inside a pop-up camper. So I was complaining, I said, somebody stole my cake. And they took it over to somebody who had a regular camper. And they washed it by the hose. Well, they told me what had happened. A raccoon had opened the cake cover and taken it over and washed it and ate my whole cake. So, pulled that work. Well, I hope the raccoon found my cake tasty.
That was Connie with her delightful story of camping and cakes. And I'm Sherry, and I'm here to light a candle in memory of my aunt, June Harris-Robbins. If anybody is familiar with Sylvania and Pyramid Realty, she was the realtor who started and ran Pyramid Realty for years, back when it was unusual for a woman to make a success in business. And Jewel turned 100 in February. She lived with her aunt, my cousin Ricky, in North Georgia. And the family will gather, those of us who are still here, to celebrate her life this week. She is the next to the last of my dad's generation in my family. Dad was one of 6, and he and all his siblings are gone, and all the in-laws are gone. Now she's gone too, and there's one younger brother-in-law left. So this time's a transition, but honoring Aunt Jewel and thinking of her children, Ricky and Matt, and all who loved her. Thank you.
So I'm Adrian, and my season of travel has begun. And I will say that I was given the most amazing blessing. That last week, I went to this place called Little Talbot Island and watched the most glorious sunrise. And it was such an amazing blessing. And this week I am leaving to go up to Vermont to be present for my granddaughter's 17th birthday, which I have no idea how 17 years passed. But I'm going to be camping for several days, and the temperatures are going to be like in the 50s and low 60s. It's going to be quite an experience that I am both looking forward to and a little anxious about. But I'm sure I will see some amazing nature. And then I'm going to be going to the Maine coast. So I'm going to be in the mountains, and then I'm going to be on the coast. And just so travel mercies, but also what an amazing gift that nature is, and it always restores my soul. So I am grateful for this time of travel, and I'm leaving Michael behind, so please be gentle with him. His need to continue his working. Next year we'll do it together. Maybe.
I'm Al, and been married to June, that you heard from about baking for 31 years now, so that brought back some memories in some ways. June is, she didn't name the place, from Chester, Georgia, which is near Eastman and Dublin. Chester is about the same size as Register, where I went to the so-called Pecan Festival yesterday. I don't know why they have a pecan festival. You gotta name it something. But pecan festival would seem to be like for November, but everybody wants a spring festival. Seemed like a nice event. But, yes, I've encountered. I remember not only June's mom, but Ma Bryant, her grandmother, Miss Evelyn, and some of those other great cooks from Chester. And Walden is home for the summer, but he is cooking today, but not using any of those family recipes. He's on the 12 to 5 shift today at Claxton Dairy Queen. Yesterday, he was working 12 to 12. He closed. So that's the way he keeps a little money coming in before going back to finish his senior year at the university up at Dahlonega, where he occasionally gets care packages filled with baked goods.
Sherry again. That reminds me of two things we need to celebrate, and I also want to share two concerns. I'm looking for this one. Okay. Speaking of seniors, we have two graduates among us, and with us today, but this is traditionally Senior Sunday, so I'm celebrating Matilda Ernie, honor graduate from Southeast Bullock, and Mason Thompson, Abby and John's son. So we have two distinguished seniors in our congregation that will be off to new adventures in school and things when they graduate this week.
We will be eating cake.
And then the two concerns I'd like to share with you, two friends of the fellowship, two of our high friends, and I don't have a recent update, but I understand that Maria Ray had a diagnosis recently of cancer and is dealing with that, seeking treatment, and I don't know any more than that, but we hope Maria and Dan in light and love. And then my friends, Nancy and Frank, Nancy Jacobs and Frank Qualls. Frank also has a recent diagnosis and is making decisions about treatments and how to go forward. So, love and light to all of them.
Everybody, my name is Michael. And I think about doing this every Sunday, but I feel moved to do it today, is that I feel like things have been very grim lately on a much wider spectrum, and coming to this church on Sunday mornings has been a bright spot, and I just wanted to light a candle for that. And I also wanted to just thank Teresa for doing such a great job of putting up with all the technical difficulties and keeping the service running.
Thank you.
Al for being our president this year. And June, I loved your message this morning. One of the things that I've realized is I love to cook too. My favorite thing about cooking is cooking for people that I love. So that really resonated with me, what you were saying. So thank you.
Did you know that Jane went and visited with Peter while he was in the hospital down in Florida? And I know she sent an update, but I don't know what the content of that update said.
He's there, he's out of the hospital and deciding where he's gonna go, and one of the caregivers has recommitted, so there's some bright spots.
I'm gratitude for all the people who helped us and supported us.
Happy New Year, the gratitude of having our communities continuing to. That's what our pledge is most important. All right, one more candle for the joys and concerns that we do have in our hearts this morning. And going to speak to them. I invite you to invoke the Spirit of life as we come together and enter a time of prayer and reflection. As we've shared these joys and concerns, we know that they connect us as a community and that they allow us to be there for each other and to reach out to each other for that support and information. With all the chaos and changes with the order of service and technical difficulties, may we still cherish the time that we've been able to spend together this morning, in communion with one another and with all of the things we've done so good. Amen. Blessed be. If you would, join me in the singing Spirit of Life. Again, there's a little introduction, so let's wait for it and then we'll come in together with the Lord. If you will, join me as we extinguish our chalice this morning. We
Extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts
until we are together again. What announcements do we have this morning?
I have one.
Yes.
The search committee has now interviewed 4 people, and we had our most recent interview last week. So I just wanted to let you all know that we have sort of begun to wrap up our search, and we have had some very excellent candidates to I have the privilege of meeting, first of all, but also decide on, and we're very excited about the prospect of choosing one, but we're at the brink of closing our search soon, and I just wanted to let you know everything is going extremely well. I'm so thankful for our search team.
And if you don't know, we search for the new minister to come in as Jane retires.
And I'll add to Abby's, being privileged to serve on that with her, that we can take this as a compliment, that 4 excellent, capable, competent, desirable candidates wanted, they read about us. They had to read all our record that Abby filled out. And they wanted to come and be part of us, so we can take it as a compliment, that we had 4 good applicants for the position. So are we off recording now?
And the board, meeting is, tomorrow evening, 7:30 p.m. on, Zoom, the Zoom site being approved the website.
Other announcements?
No, we're gonna sing a song and then Sherry has something to say. So don't anybody leave the room.
Well, it is our benediction, and it says to leave, but do not leave.